It's Tuesday, March 14th. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today we end up with a 2-up day, made a new high, held the midpoint of the prior day, and closed a little bit green. It's an interesting day where we gapped up and started out strong. We moved to our first target, which was kind of a broadening area. These two bars broaden out this one bar, so when you see the 2-up bar, that becomes your next target. We tried to reverse for a while, but then we held the midpoint of that prior day, and by the end of the day, at the very end of the day, things rallied to close up a little bit. So it leaves us with a good actionable signal for tomorrow, which would be the 2 down bar. Of course, price action is going to lead the way. We're going to have to open up somewhere, below the pre-market range, whatever it is, and then take out yesterday's low. That will kind of start the process of maybe turning the week red. At the moment, after 2 days, the week took out the lows of the previous week, which was a 3 bar to the downside, and is a little bit green so far. So at the moment, until we really get below this yellow line, the open of the week, we're biased to the upside a little bit, but we know we're trying to kind of go deep back into this red bar to the upside, which is hard to do. You still got a little way to go to the midpoint. We could end up with a 3, if you start thinking ahead a little bit, 3 days to go in the week, we could have a 3, 2 down, 2 up bar into next week. That would be a reversal signal, but let's see what happens for the next 3 days, because we're still biased on the monthly chart to the downside, even though we're kind of, for the first 2 days of this week, kind of holding up a little bit. We have a 2 down month. We still have a long, half the month to go to get down to these targets, but we're now being patient to kind of wait for the sell signals. And until then, we're just playing the upside as it unfolds. And in this case, it unfolded very typical of the type of trading that I like to do, where you kind of get the start above yesterday's high, above the pre-market highs, opening green bar, and it follows through. And this was the morning trade to the upside. And I was trading a lot of stocks to the long side. I bought NVIDIA, which was the, kind of mirrored the SPY going up in the morning hour. Then there were stocks like Meta that really gapped up, and you bought that first pullback to take out the intraday high. And CRM was the same thing. I bought that aggressively on the 5-minute, pulled out here. And again, so these are all the morning trades, and you can see how I've discussed before how a lot of times the directional move on the day could be 80% of that move could be the very first, move of the day type of thing. And in all these cases, all these stocks went up. Some reversed, some kind of held up somewhat nicely. Even stocks that try to reverse, like AMD, if you would have played that one, that was a good winner. Eventually it closed, a little bit up near the top end of the range, but the big part of the move was early on. Anyway, I also shot a video on the SPY where I bought puts right here at the top after taking out the broadening action high. This was an aggressive move, and the reason I did it, A, because, I'm still biased to the downside a little bit. B, I was watching all these stocks at one time, and I kind of noticed they were all kind of hesitating a little bit. And that was kind of the key thing, in addition to just the fact that this is this was a gap area in here that I discussed in the pre-market video, might hold, might provide resistance. This might be the turning point to come down, but until we confirm that, you don't know for sure. And, since we moved up kind of in the morning all the way up to that first target, I just thought we might get a reversal like we've seen before, in this environment. And anyway, it was a great trade to come down here. Then I shot a video where there was actually, once you had the confirmation you were down, there was that first secondary trade. So this little pullback right here to the blue line, there was a good opportunity for another base hit kind of trade to buy some puts. And then by the end of the day, boom, it just came up. You didn't know that would happen, but it did. So price action is really the entire story. And now we do have a day that looks a little bit green. So maybe we start at the midpoint and follow through tomorrow. But if we do, we still have this gap that could provide resistance, and we're still kind of waiting for a rollover to the downside, but knowing that if you have an open like this, you can take advantage of it, in the morning trade. And if it had been a trend day all day, you would have basically had an orderly pullback and then a second push up to test those highs. And once you came down here and then failed on that orderly pullback, that's how you kind of knew you, at least on the day you were failing. Even if you closed up here, it was kind of a choppy day, relative to that first move. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. Again, if we start below the midpoint of today, today, tomorrow, and start lower, then we can get a great sell signal. If the market doesn't want to provide that, then maybe we're heading higher, and we're just going to keep monitoring, the upside on this green week, knowing that kind of the midpoint of this bar would be a tough area to get through, but you never know. I mean, let's just see what the market wants to deliver, and we'll see how things open. We had the CPI today. That was kind of a key catalyst for that first move. A little choppy in here. I still think we could be developing kind of a thing where we came down big and had a higher high, and we're getting ready to just be choppy and eventually make lower lows. But we're going to need price action to, you don't just jump in and guess. So basically, you wouldn't get short here at the open. This was an opportunity to play the long side, and this was one chance to try an aggressive short trade. And then once it confirmed, there was definitely an intraday short trade here. There was a very nice trade, and then the market just closed where it closed. So let's see what happens tomorrow.